Good evening. Welcome to our parent chat. Excited to have all of you joining us here tonight for our first parent chat of the summer as we get excited about your students joining us in fall of 22. And I will say we started this a couple years ago, and I've absolutely loved these parent chats as a way to connect with parents and be able to help navigate this process throughout the summer and that transition to college. I should start by introducing myself. My name is Chad Eichhoff. I've worked as Director of Admissions here at NAU and a director here within the Enrollment Management Division. So really happy to be here tonight and help navigate with you all tonight. And I'll let Annika introduce herself.
Great, thanks Chad for kicking us off. Welcome everyone. My name is Annika Olson, and I serve as the Vice President for Enrollment Management here at Northern Arizona University. And I truly believe I have the best job on campus because we get to work with parents and families as well as students as they make this amazing transition to college. And I will say I have a recent master's graduate. I have a student that just finished his first year, his freshman year, and I have a daughter that as of tomorrow will be a senior in high school. So I definitely understand some of the challenges as parents, even though the process is fairly ingrained after well over a decade working in admissions and enrollment management and orientation. I still had a lot of questions and I felt like I should know all the answers. And so I love that we have this forum and these parent chats periodically throughout the summer as an opportunity to engage and answer some of the questions that you submitted. So we thank you for doing that. We also, in the YouTube chat, we have some of our amazing team members that will be jumping in there and answering some of the questions. If you didn't get an opportunity to submit one, you can certainly do so in the chat. So have at it. We have a few different team members in there now. Chad, why don't we jump into the questions that were submitted?
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks in advance to those of you that helped us kind of steer some of the conversation tonight. But as Annika said, I'll try to keep an eye on the chat on the side too. And as you have clarifying questions or other questions that may come to mind throughout the evening, throw those our way as well. But kind of try to categorize them, and we'll move through them in those categories with kind of advising. And then there's some move-in questions. So we'll certainly dig into that a little bit more. Some questions around kind of important dates that are out there. A few questions came in around health insurance, some math placement, safety stuff, student support on campus. So those are kind of some of the bigger overarching categories that we're going to navigate through here tonight. And I'll kick us off with the first question. And really, it was a question around advising and what that looks like. And I did want to talk a little bit more and pull up a website that I believe is helpful in navigating that as well. And I would also encourage you, in addition to the parent chats, we have what we call Forecast from Flagstaff. And we just had an episode a couple of weeks ago, and it lives on this NAU Social YouTube channel. But a couple of our guests there were from the advising office. And I would encourage you to go back and watch that as well. But I'll give you a quick overview here too. And I'm going to start actually by sharing my screen.
And Chad, while you're pulling that up, I just want to say I love how everyone's putting where they're from. Lots of more locals here in Arizona, but a lot from around the Western United States. I saw Anchorage, Alaska, as well as in Michigan earlier. So thanks for jumping in. And I see a couple people from San Diego shouting out to each other. So great way to make some connections too.
Absolutely. And Hawaii joining us, and instead of an evening event, it's an early afternoon event for them.
Yeah.
So yeah, thanks for joining us. So the website I would direct you or your student to, nau.edu/new freshman advising, is going to take you to this page that I have pulled up and I'm sharing right now. And really, advising will talk about kind of a 3-step process for our incoming students. And step one being priority enrollment. This has been open for quite a while, and your student may have already completed this. If not, no worries. They certainly can still complete that, but that's going to be a profile that they go into and begin that communication with their academic advisor. And maybe they took some other college coursework, community college coursework that they want to let them know about. They're going to confirm what major they chose, if that is in fact what they still want to study. Maybe they've since changed their mind, which is totally normal and very common for our students to change their major. They could do that within priority enrollment, and really begins that communication with the academic advisor. The next thing that our advisors in the Gateway Student Success Center that does all of the first year advising would encourage students to do is to complete an online module. And students can do that then at their own pace and click into that. And then the third step being choosing their advising appointment with their academic advisor. Now you actually could have your student go and schedule the advising appointment and then start working on the module as they wait for that advising appointment to come. I talked to our folks over in advising, that's totally fine as well. If they want to kind of get that calendar scheduled for the advising appointment. And then from there, move into completing those modules. And that'll be an actual opportunity then for the student to virtually connect with their academic advisor and talk through the schedule that their advisor is able to create off of the priority enrollment that the student has submitted. So those are kind of the three steps. Right now at last check, when I talked to our advising office this morning, if you're looking to schedule an appointment, probably about 3 weeks out is what you could schedule now. Each student is assigned an academic advisor during that first year, and it's going to, in the appointment scheduling tool, only show appointments for their specific academic advisor. If the times they're seeing just don't work in their schedule and they want to look more broadly, they do have the ability to search across academic advisors within Gateway and could meet with another academic advisor just if they need more time options to choose from. But kind of the first look would be their assigned academic advisor for this summer. So that's kind of a quick overview on the academic advising piece and how your student would ultimately be scheduled, a schedule for fall. One other part of an advising question that came in as well too is a student had completed dual enrollment credits and wondering how it would work towards the student's selected major. So certainly they can report those dual enrollment credits within that priority enrollment that I mentioned there, step 1 of the advising process. And that would be one way to communicate it. But we also have this awesome tool called Jax Path, because we're the lumberjacks here, nau.edu/Jax Path, where they could put that college course that they completed in there and see how it would transfer into NAU. So that would be another tool that I would put out there for our students that are possibly bringing some dual enrollment credits with them. So that's kind of the broad overview I wanted to give you on the advising front. But don't have your student hesitate to reach out to their academic advisor if they do have specific questions to them. And I think with that, the next kind of big broad category was around move-in and housing. I'm going to throw that over to you, Annika, to be able to talk a little bit about the move-in process.
Awesome. And Chantel, I hope I'm saying that right. Your freshman and junior can move in on the same day. And actually, there was another question. Can my kid come into in-person orientation? Yes. Can they do virtual orientation? Yes. There's no one size fits all. And we understand if your students are anything like mine, they will for sure be busy this summer. And so what fits for them may be different. And so I'm going to go ahead and share that screen. Chad, you need to make me shareable. Okay. Hopefully now I can share a screen. So I'm going to pull this one up. This is where you can see it's nau.edu/admission, orientation, welcome, in-person agenda and virtual agenda, and then some orientation tips as well. So that one's certainly worth noting. And then preparing for your arrival to campus. This is kind of the hot, and this was shared in chat, nau.edu/move-in. everything you need to know regarding move-in. So if you're an honors student, you have 2 pre-days of early move-in that you can move in here. If you're a student that wants to pay for an extra night, you can also choose early move-in. But on the 25th, that's when we'll start moving in everyone to campus. And students will schedule their own time in the housing portal. So that housing portal that your student applied for housing in and maybe did a roommate questionnaire in is their kind of one-stop housing place to go. And that's where their schedule move in. Housing will also communicate with parents. Hey, we sent your kid there or your student their move-in time. Have them select a time. So I know there's a ton of you joining us from out of state, and you need to make flights if you haven't already. So usually move-in happens starting kind of 9, 10 in the morning and happens throughout the early evening hours. We do schedule in every hall a certain number of students per hour. But really once you get in there, it's pretty easy to schedule. So no worries on scheduling. So Chantel, your students can come, probably find a common time in those 4 days as well. So I think that it is the primary question. I think there was a couple other housing questions, and I started my career here at NAU in housing. So Chad always gives me the housing questions because I love that. Also on that website, and I shouldn't have stopped sharing screen so fast because my next question was what to bring. And so when you click on that, essentials that you need to bring, maybe if there's room, and do not bring. So like don't bring your 50-pound dog with you, for an example. But there is a downloadable printable checklist, and it has those essentials, maybes, and do not bring. And I know for parents that are joining us where you may have dropped a student off, an older sibling of your NAU student to a different institution, and certainly my son's institution, I was like, wait, what? We do provide refrigerators in the room. So I know that also is a popular gift to get a graduating senior, but we do provide that, which makes families happy. You don't have to haul that into a residence hall. So that's just, so not every school is certainly the same, but that move-in checklist is very, very helpful. I'm checking my questions. I think that was dates. We talked about that. And then also, while I'm in this site and we're talking about dates, lots of questions about when is my tuition due? When will my students' financial aid hit their account? And typically speaking, classes begin on the 29th, but this goes for most every other term as well. Usually a week or the Sunday prior is when you will see charges that will be due. You'll see charges as they build their class schedule and as they pick their hall and get all those will start showing up on their Louis account. And if you're in the online orientation, you'll learn about Louis. And if you're in person, you'll also learn about Louis and how to access that as a parent. And you'll be able to see those due dates in there. But typically about 7 to 10 days prior are when things are due and when financial aid will hit your student's account. And that would be scholarships, any grants, and any loans that your student has said, yes, I want that loan. So that's typically the time some of those important date things happen.
Great, thanks, Annika. I think you hit most of the due date questions that I was gonna jump into here. I did see a follow-up from Nick Garcia about AP credit. I talked a little bit about if they had dual enrollment while they were in high school. Same would be true with AP credit, where they could let their advisor know through priority enrollment. And if they want to kind of get a sense themselves how that AP credit might transfer in, that's where that Jax Path tool is going to come into play as well. So nau.edu/JaxPath, they can put their score in there and see how that would transfer into NAU.
Another question just came in about roommates, and I know that my that's always and if you want to mutually, your student can go into that housing portal and request a roommate. So I would request a roommate, and that person that I request needs to request me back. So it has to be both of them requesting, and your student again can do that in their housing portal. Or I know our team in University Admissions has put that housing number, phone number on there, or certainly an email to housing can help get that taken care of as well. The other question that came in about housing was, we didn't get to campus for a campus visit because in the last year, COVID has been challenging for some travel. There are campus living virtual renderings of each hall. So if you go just to nau.edu/reslife, and where it says view our campus living communities, you can click on that, click your hall. Allen is one of my favorites on the Central Quad. And then you can see a VR walkthrough, hall features, room features, 3D, and actual photos. And every single hall has that. So if your student maybe is still deciding and they have their room selection time, and they're deciding between a couple, they can go on and really look at those renderings and photos and determine where location wise they want to be and what that actual room space looks like.
Great, thanks, Annika. I think another kind of section to jump into, and certainly if you've got follow-up questions on the housing front, let us know. And I see our friends in admissions helping answer some of those in the chat as well. But another kind of topic that came in was health insurance. And it's a common question, will NAU take my student's health insurance, your health insurance as a family, whether we're going to take that or not. Annika, can you talk a little bit about health insurance?
Yes. So here at NAU, we take a handful of different insurances. And so I'm going to list them for you now, but they also can be found on Campus Health Services. But if you are joining us for an in-person orientation or you're moving your student in, make sure your student has on their phone the front and back of your insurance card. So if you're coming for orientation, you can bring the insurance card. In the afternoons of our orientation, you have a time where you can visit different offices on campus. So you can go to Campus Health and show them your card, and they'll tell you exactly what your insurance will cover. You can also have your student log on to their Campus Health portal using their LUI logon, and your students should be fairly familiar with their LUI logon. It's their portal into all of their NAU business, classwork, scheduling classes, paying their bills, getting transcripts, pulling down their grades, all the things. And we call it Louie because Louie is our mascot. And so they have a login that we assigned them when they were admitted to the institution. Now they've had to set up a password since then because they accepted their offer of admission using that login. So that same login gives them access to go into our Campus Health portal and upload images of your insurance card. So they also have it on file. I also like to back up with a photo on the phone just in case. But let's talk about those different types of insurance. So we take Blue Cross Blue Shield, Aetna, Cigna, United Healthcare, and TRICARE. Now, I am a California native, and I know we have a lot of folks from California on the line, and I know a popular healthcare option is Kaiser. We do not take Kaiser. So if you don't fall into one of those insurances, and even if you do, bring to make sure your plan will cover students, particularly if you're out of state. You have the option to purchase a health plan that we offer called the Student Health Insurance Plan that is offered at all 3 Arizona institutions. You can also do fee for service. We do not deny any student care at our campus health services. And campus health services, if you're joining us for an in-person orientation, also does a presentation just for parents to talk through. If you have insurance, but you want the peace of mind that, or if your deductible is really high and you don't need it, you can also purchase Louis Care, and that's a semester by semester care option where your student then just pays a $10 copay and they can go as many times as they need. So insurance is always a bit challenging. Our campus health only sees students, faculty, and staff. I do all my primary care there. There is physicians and physician's assistants, a full nursing, so full doctors, some of the best care in Northern Arizona, x-rays, labs, the whole deal. If your student has a chronic problem, my son happens to have asthma, and you want to get those medical records, again, that student portal, that student health portal that they can log into, they can complete necessary items and upload anything if they have a chronic illness. Always a good idea, just so we have the most up-to-date information. Super long answer, but I think I touched on a few different questions that were submitted.
Yeah, that's all really helpful. And I think that did hit on all the health insurance questions that had come in ahead of time, but certainly don't hesitate to reach out to Campus Health Services and talk through if you've got a specific insurance that you're wondering if we take or different questions like that. They're more than happy to help talk through that with you. There was a question around math placement and a math placement test for incoming freshman first year students. And I'm going to share screen here again quick. nau.edu/math placement takes me to the math department website. And if I scroll down to the bottom of that page, there's a section for math placement. On that page then, you can see that there are some in-person options that students could partake in here on campus in our Lumberjack Mathematics Center. Which is actually just above. If you happen to come for an in-person campus visit, it's in that same building and right above the Welcome Center where you would have went for your campus visit presentation. But also students can do math placement online as well. I should have probably prefaced this with saying that not every student needs to take a math placement test. And we'll be reaching out to students if it could benefit them on this website as well too. Your student could check out what their math placement is. They could find my math placement, and really the need to take the math placement test would be if your student believes they could place into a higher level math than what it is showing based on their high school performance test scores and all of that. So the ability to take that math placement test to essentially kind of test up to a higher level math. And again, some of those STEM majors that are more math intensive, we would be reaching out and letting students know, hey, you might want to think about taking the math placement test. But just wanted to let you know where that existed and where your student can find their math placement, as well as that ability to learn about setting up an online test. And your student will have to download some proctoring software, I believe, in order to do that, but they can do that from a computer at home or libraries is an option for them as well.
Awesome. For times of the in-person orientation, it is available on the website that the admissions team, but it is an all-day event. We do check-in in a expo from 8 to 9:30, and then the formal program begins at 9:30, and we go all the way till 5. So it is a full day of information. if you are joining us for the parent and your student is you are together with your student, although typically students act like they don't want to be around you because they connect up with other students. We do have you together at the beginning, but then we do send the students off to do some different activities and have some parent specific programming as well. And then if you have questions about the rooms that aren't covered in the 3D or the virtual tours, you can certainly reach out to Res Life. And I know a couple times during COVID, they had parents on video calls while they were taking them to their student's room. Now, I don't know if everyone, all 157 of you on the line wanted to do that. I don't know if we'd be able to do it, but certainly if you have a specific question. And you don't need to move in and out of the residence halls each term. You move in August and then you move out at the end of the spring semester. But we do close a lot of the residence halls over the winter holiday break. So students either don't have access or I think there's only one hall that has actual keys anymore. They're all done on their student ID card for access. And so some of our halls don't have access during that winter downtime in December and early January. But you don't have to move your things out.
Tracy, I did just see your question as well about being on a wait list for the 6/11 orientation, which is the one Saturday orientation. And that one did fill up and get a lot of interest right away. We did increase the caps across all the other orientations just recently to be able to make sure to accommodate people across those dates. I think likely it would be a good idea to look at some of those other dates if they do fit in your schedule, because again, that one Saturday one is very full. There's a lot of demand for that. So if possible in your schedule, would advise looking at another one, but certainly can hang on that wait list spot and see if availability opens up. But that was definitely a popular one for us here on campus. So I think we talked about payment a little bit already, so I'm not going to jump into that one. Safety was another kind of category of questions. Annika, can you talk about kind of safety measures that NAU has on campus? And they mentioned specifically physical safety for female students, psychological safety, and safety of our underrepresented and marginalized populations here as well. So if you could talk kind of broadly about safety here on campus.
Definitely, I would love to. So I mentioned that ID card, and many students have that on their phone digitally, and Chad's going to talk about how they make that happen. Or they actually have a physical Jax card. Either way, all of our halls are locked 24/7, and that's kind of a first line of defense on safety. We also do a lot of education in our campus communities about, not having students what we call tailgate behind you. So if you use your ID card to access and open an exterior door, not just assuming that the person that's coming in behind you is also a resident of that hall. Our visitation policy, if I was going over to study in Chad's Hall in Sechrist Hall and I lived in Riley, I would leave Riley Hall, walk over to Sechrist, and Chad would need to come down and meet me in the lobby then so I would have access as Chad's guest. And so we are really strict about that. And so that whole tailgating and not propping doors, our doors will alarm if they're propped too long. We also have our police department on campus, and they have chosen to work on a college campus. They've gone through the police academy and are full officers of the law, just as in your towns and communities. But they really have chosen to work with college students. So they really do a lot of proactive work with students early in the semester, but then also throughout the semester. Anything from just being smart about when you go down the hall, just to even refill your water in the water filling station, just to be mindful of not keeping your door propped open. It's super easy to do. Oh, I'm just running down the hall, but you just never know. And just to be smart about, leaving your backpack when you're in the library and you're just running across the street to grab a cup of coffee, or downstairs in that case to grab a cup of coffee. So just being really proactive and keeping safety top of mind. We also have campus safety aides, which are students that are paired together, usually a male and a female, that help make sure campus is safe in the late afternoon and evening hours. And so if I was a student that was studying at the library and I lived in Riley Hall, and while it's not a super far walk, it's late at night, I don't feel safe, I can call using the NAU Go app, which we encourage all students and families to download. You can request a pair of campus safety aides to come and walk you back to your residence hall. So again, lots of safety measures. Our Office of Inclusion also does a ton of programs around safety for marginalized communities and really provide a safe space for students. And there's many spaces throughout campus. We want to make sure students that feel safe, because we know students that feel safe then can be successful in the classroom and connect socially, which is part of the whole college experience. So if we don't have kind of those basic needs taken care of, we know a student won't meet their educational goals. So I would also say, from one parent to another, there's always someone you can call if you're worried about your student, whether it's someone just to do a wellness check. Each hall in our entire residence hall system, we house over 8,000 students on campus. Each hall has a resident assistant, which is an undergraduate peer, where their job is to connect and meet and make sure no one's feeling isolated or has concerns about their hall experience, but also is a wealth of information to connect to resources on campus, whether it's counseling services, which we offer to all students, and they can access a counselor around the clock. Each hall also has a full-time hall director, so a master's level professional team member that is another resources. So your students RA and their hall director are going to be people that you probably are going to want to try to meet when you're moving your student in. Your student might say, no, that's awkward. Just do the parent thing and get in there and try to meet at least one of those team members, because there are just a ton of resources. So we are going to be proactive to make sure your student's feeling included. But what you will also hear is encouraging your student to get out of their comfort zone. And they will be encouraged to do that by team members on campus and have a ton of opportunity to do that virtually in communities throughout the summer, as well as in person when they move in, or if they're here for an in-person orientation as well.
Cool. So as Annika alluded to before, I'm going to talk a little bit about the student ID. And here at NAU, we call it the Jax Card. Again, we are the Lumberjacks, so call it the Jax Card. NAU.edu/Jax Card would be the website where your student can go to get more information about that student ID. And really the to-do item that they could be doing right now, if they haven't already, is submitting their Jax Card photo. So you'll see this tab here, their ability to submit their photo for their student ID. And it's going to be, I saw a question coming in the chat, if they could have both a digital credential and a actual physical card. And the answer is no. They have to make that choice if they want the digital credential, which is available for Apple users and iPhone users, Apple Watch as well too. Or I'm old school, I still like having my hard ID. That's an option for them as well. So either way, they're going to need to be submitting their photo. So that's the step for them to do now. If your student chooses that they want to go the digital credential route and do it on an Apple device, July 1st is when they're going to be able to start credentialing those digital credentials for the fall. So again, action item right now, submitting that photo. Come July 1st, if they want the digital credential, they can start setting that up. If your student opts for the hard copy of the ID, like I have, that they're going to be distributing those around move-in time. So likely around the Union in the middle of campus is where students are going to go to be able to pick up their Jax card, and we'll be getting out more information about the specific location that'll be occurring. But know that right around move-in time is when the student will get the Jax card ID if they are going with the physical copy of the ID. So hopefully that answered questions around the Jax card, but certainly if there's follow-up questions, feel free to throw those in the chat.
Yeah, so a couple questions that I just pulled off. I'm glad that you're watching when I'm talking and vice versa. WUI, if your student's admitted, you don't need to do anything different for WUI. They're going to automatically get that WUI tuition rate. That's a Western undergraduate exchange. And if you're in a state in the Western United States that's not Arizona, you have a different tuition rate. You have a reduced tuition rate. So that's going to be automatically happen for your students. We do want final high school transcripts from all of you to get your financial aid, your federal financial aid. It is a federal regulation that you have a final high school transcript with a graduation date posted. So I know a lot of your students may be just graduated or graduating in the next few days or a week or longer with some of our out-of-state students. So you're going to want to request through your student's high school a final high school transcript to be sent directly to NAU, or you can bring it to us at orientation in a sealed envelope. We love that too. And we want those final high school transcripts by July 1. And the reason for that is your financial aid disperses in August, and we want to make sure we have all of that information in our student system, and there'll be quite a few of those. So we want to make sure we have that, and that's a seamless process for your student. Meal plans also came up. Yes, they are required if you have a freshman living on campus. They did select what meal plan they wanted in the housing portal when they applied. And if they're like, oh, I didn't pick correctly, they can go in and change it in Louis, that one place where your student can do all their business. And they have up until 2 weeks into the semester to change that plan. My student who just finished his freshman year did just that. He got there and he goes, I think I need more food. And I said, okay, well, go into the dining office and get it changed. So he did that. So your student can kind of fill out their class schedule and get into the groove of attending class in the first week and kind of decide how they move through campus and what either retail outlets or all you care to eat dining facilities they like. They want to continue, that's part of their routine, and then determine what meal plan best fits for them as well.
And I did see some follow-up questions around digital Jax card, and I just wanted to, I think most all of them would be answered on the frequently asked questions page that you can navigate to through the Jax card, talking about different things where, what if I lose my phone? What if the phone's broken? What if my battery dies? All those kinds of questions that I saw kind of popping in the chat there as some follow-ups there. And I think going through some of these different things will help reassure you that the digital makes a lot of sense. And it is really secure in the sense that a student needs to actually log into their device in order to use the Jax card, whereas a physical card, if you were to drop that somewhere, for instance, someone could pick that up and utilize that. So there are certainly benefits to having that digital credential. And as you can see, there's lots of frequently asked questions on this page. So just direct you to go check that out to answer some of those specifics. And again, nau.edu/Jax card is where you can go, and then lots of questions to be answered regarding that student ID, both the digital and the hard copy plastic one as well.
Yeah, and not authorizing both. I know that there was some follow-up in the chat is really a safety issue. If your student has a physical ID and they're just using their digital one, and then they lose their physical one and someone else is using it, if they authorized on both, it looks like action's happening on both. And so it really is kind of a safety thing for your student, because students also load their dining dollars on there. And so that's also important of note. Meal plans start when your student moves in. So that's all activated at that point. Keeping in mind that we do have some partner housing on campus, the suites, Hilltop, help me out, people and team members in the chat, that are actually not owned by NAU, but they do sit on our campus. And so some of a lot of those, none of those require a dining plan, but a lot of the students that live there do opt to get one of the more flexible plans so they can eat on campus as well.
So Laura asked about football games or athletic events.
Yep.
So your student does not have to buy tickets to games with that Jax card. They can get into the football games or basketball games, volleyball games, all of the sports where you would typically have to buy a ticket for. Students do not have to buy tickets. They use their Jax card to attend athletic events, and definitely encourage them to get involved with the campus community. And one of my favorite NAU traditions, the running of the freshmen, the first home football game, they open up the garage door at the end of the football field in the Sky Dome, and all of our first year students run across the football field, which we are at 7,000 feet. So it can be a transition for some of you not living at 7,000 feet.
Great question about honors students. Do all students who are in the honors program get to move in early, even if they aren't in the honors hall? That is a stumper. I don't know the answer to that. My gut is telling me probably not, but I don't know for sure. But I also know now I'm thinking probably so. Yep. So that is going to have to be a question that goes directly to housing, to ask them, because I don't know the answer, but I will know by our next parent chat, because that's a great, I often am not stumped on questions, but you did stump me there.
My gut was telling me probably yes. So yeah.
Yeah.
We'll
see if we're right.
Let's see, just scrolling through the chat a little bit, making sure we didn't miss anything else big, and really appreciate these questions. Mick, I don't know the date. I know it's the first home football game. So I believe that football schedule is out too. So
yep. And Parents Weekend, if you go to the Parents Weekend site, the dates are up there. And I want to say it's the first weekend in October, only because it's my birthday weekend. I remember thinking, oh, that's cool.
It is October 7th through the 9th. And I just checked out the website. So nau.edu/family weekend. And there's the dates. There'll be more information coming soon, I'm sure.
And you can see their tickets there for purchase or in that right hand. I'm guessing that I don't know if that's active yet, but it will be certainly by the start of school.
Yep. And the reason family weekend, kind of that timing there, is research has shown that students start to maybe get a little homesick around 5 or so weeks into the term, or start missing family. Not that they're not going to miss you right away, but that can be a good time then to encourage families to come to campus and see their student. And we've got a lot of activities that will be planned for that weekend. So that's something to mark your calendars for, and encourage you to be able to come to campus if you're able.
I did want to make mention about the honors dorm. It did fill really fast. There is a honors community in another hall. So if your students and if your student is in another hall because they've selected that and they've selected a room and they love it, they can still be super involved in the honors program. If they maybe still would like to be with other honors students, they did open another area in another hall, Seacrest Hall, for honors students to have a specific part of a wing and floor for honors students. I happen to know that because one of my neighbors, that was his option when he applied for housing a couple of weeks ago. He's an honors student and he chose to live in that community in Seacrest. That will be something that you'll want to email directly to housing@nau.edu so they can either shift the room for you or open that portal piece up so you have access to those rooms. So another option for students.
Annika, I think kind of the last section of pre-submitted questions that I want to jump into is kind of around the idea of student support.
Yeah.
And that kind of comes a lot of different ways. I guess the questions came in terms of resources for struggling students, socially and academically, but also just kind of general, like how do students get involved and bond with other students, and what's available on that front as well.
Yeah, so during, so a ton of options, and your student will have to decide what works best for them. All of our clubs and organizations, as well as our student body government, host a number of different opportunities, club and organization fairs throughout the first few weeks of class. There also is our kind of welcome activities that start that Thursday of move-in and happen throughout not only the weekend of move-in, but those first weeks of school as well. So lots of opportunities to connect socially there, as well as in their residence hall. Their RA will be pulling students together. You know, a lot of our classes and our faculty are so brilliantly pairing students into groups in the first part of the semester so they can work together and natural study groups form and those types of things. We also, kind of on the academic end, have free tutoring for students, both here on the kind of central north part of campus in the University Union, as well as in our south campus. It's called the Dube. There's a whole dining district down there, as well as academic support for students. And we offer it in almost every class, and certainly in the entry level classes as well. Also, we have a Lumberjack Math Center. If your student needs some extra support, specifically in math, and wants to make sure they're staying on top of it. So lots of opportunities socially as well as academically to definitely get involved in. And that's why so many of us on a college campus love working that way with students, whether it's helping them navigate through a difficult project that they have in a class, or trying to find a couple different clubs and organizations to try out before they really maybe decide on one. Again, I keep talking about my freshman. He ended up joining 3 clubs and is now in 2, and only 1 from the original 3, because he really did, you know, go a couple times and then decide, well, maybe I'm going to try something different. So it really is an opportunity for your student to continue some of their interests they may have had in high school in terms of playing sports, intramurals, club sports that we offer, or being involved in musical groups or student government or religious organizations that they've been a part of, or to try something totally new and different if they want to do that too. So in Louis, your student has a to-do list, and that's for all the things that they need to accomplish. And so you'll see their final high school transcript request there. It is pretty early for that request. And so they'll see that as a to-do item. So it's probably good coaching by you as the family member to encourage your student to check into Louis and their NAU email a couple times a week moving forward. We also will be sending, closer to your orientation day, the checklist items your student still needs to take care of in that final high school transcript. If it has a green check, they're done and good. If it has a red X, it still is an outstanding item that needs to be done. So a couple different ways they'll be reminded repeatedly that they need to take care of that. But it is in Louis.
Yep. And I just want to repeat something Annika said there. Make sure your students checking their NAU email address. And there are certain offices on campus that only communicate with the NAU email address, whereas kind of through the admissions process and all of that, your student likely was receiving things on a personal email address. Really, they need to start making that habit of looking at that NAU email address. Offices like financial aid or housing, the honors college, if they applied for the honors college and are wondering why they haven't heard back, make sure they check their NAU email. The honors college will communicate with that NAU email address. So just some good advice there. You can always set it up to forward to a personal email address would be another option. If checking those two email addresses doesn't seem like something that's easy for them to manage, that would be a way that they could set that up to forward to the email address that they do check more frequently.
Yes, we do offer specific transfer in-person and virtual orientations for transfer students, definitely. Jeff, that sounds awesome. Your student picked a room and it already had a person assigned to it. They've met virtually and feel like they're a good roommate pairing. Awesome. Sometimes that's just the way it happens. And some people come to school and want a room with someone they know or were friends with in high school, and sometimes it doesn't end as well. So it really is, you know, you have an opportunity here as a family member to coach your student, and sometimes they don't want to hear it from you. I get that. They'll hear it from us at orientation through that process as well. But being super honest with how they answer that roommate questionnaire, as well as when they sit down at the beginning of the term to do a roommate agreement, it's really a time for them to talk about, like, I'm a morning person, I'm not a morning person. I don't mind if you have guests on the weekends, but during the weekdays, I'm not a fan. How do you listen to music on AirPods or in headphones versus having it on a stereo system? It's the things that, and we'll help them through that conversation, the hall team and the community teams. So it won't be just, you know, on their first night trying to decide these things. I'll give them a little time to kind of navigate things. But encouraging your student to be an advocate for themselves in those situations, I think always ends up in stronger roommate agreements. Chad, what else do you see in the chat? I know our shout out to the admissions team who's in there. I think we have Nancy, Fred, and I feel like there was one other person.
I think Danny, Jenny,
and
Fred.
Dan.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Sweet. You guys are killing it on answering these questions. So that's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, I wanted to just kind of re-nod to what I think is an important web page as we kind of wrap up our time talking tonight, and you're thinking, hey, but I have so much more I need to learn, or I want to get more information throughout the summer. And I want to reiterate nau.edu/welcome. Okay, and Annika showed this at the top of our time, but I think this is a good spot for us to kind of wrap as well too. This is an orientation page, and pre-pandemic, we only had in-person orientation. And then the last couple of years, we only had virtual orientation. And you as family members of the incoming class of fall 2022 here, you get the best of both worlds. You're going to get both options to choose from. And I did see someone in the chat, I think they said they're joining us from Ohio tonight, and wondering if they needed to come to in-person orientation. Our hope is that we get all your questions answered virtually as well. And we're going to have lots of opportunities to do that throughout the summer. But for those of you that are able to join us in person, really encourage you to do so. The agendas, and there were some questions about kind of what that day looks like. If you click this family and guest agendas, it's going to open up a new window here, and you can actually get a sense of exactly what that agenda is going to look like for you as a family. And there's a student agenda that's separate. There is a point in the day where you do split up and have some different programming, but this gives you a sense of what the agenda is going to look like for the in-person option. In the afternoon, lots of open house opportunities to be able to kind of dig into your specific questions that you may have. Now, also back on that nau.edu/welcome page, you do have the virtual agenda. And if you click that family guest one, you're going to have this PDF that opens up, and maybe you're someone that has a calendar on a magnet stuck to the side of your fridge. This might be a good one to have up there as kind of a reminder of opportunities throughout the summer. Looking at the month of June, as we look ahead there, I would really encourage you to attend at least one of these financing your education webinars. And you can see we offer a lot of different options for that. And if you got an email about tonight's parent chat, you're going to be getting emails about the financing your education webinars and the information to be able to log in to one of those sessions. And we kind of touched the top of the financial aid side of things and talked a little bit about that. But that's a good way on the kind of deeper dive within financial aid to be able to understand that and feel comfortable with that. Every month, we're going to have a parent chat. So we've got another one about a month from now on the 22nd of June. And then we're also going to have one of these forecasts from Flagstaff, which again, we had one a couple of weeks ago. You can go back and watch that on the NAU social page and get some more information there. And moving into the next month, same thing again, we'll have a forecast and a parent chat. I did want to also draw quick attention that we do have some Spanish information sessions. So if that's a language that you'd rather be asking questions in, or if you know family members that would benefit from joining one of our Spanish information sessions, just wanted to put a plug in for those as well. But that's kind of a look at looking ahead throughout the summer, opportunities to be able to get additional information. We really enjoyed doing these parent chats, really appreciate you putting in questions ahead of time. I'm always encouraged by the questions coming in during the chat, and we'll be sure to capture those and learn from the questions we didn't answer, and it'll help inform us the next parent chat we have as well. But certainly this is not the only time that you can get questions answered. I always like to make sure you all know that. If you've got a general question or a really specific question to your student, admissions@nau.edu would be the email address. I'd encourage you to shoot that to, or certainly feel free to call the general admissions phone number as well. And if we don't have the answer in front of us, we're going to find someone that does and really help you feel comfortable with that transition.
Yeah, and a couple other things that I'm just watching happen in the chat. I love it. The parking permits, I think they start selling those in July. So Jason, you're on it. And the parking permits are for a full calendar year from August 15th through next August 15th. And lots of different options for there. My direct office line, I do like to share that as well, is 928-523-0681. And I'm here Monday through Friday. So if I don't answer, just hit me a voicemail. I usually try to get back to folks in the same day when possible. My email is, and if someone in the admissions chat can put my email in it, I think you all probably know it by heart, is simply my first and last name, Annika.Olson. That's also on your screen at nau.edu. So you can certainly reach out however you want, that however works for you. If you think of questions, we want to hear them. It helps us answer questions in this forum. As you can see, we try to keep up with the chat as well. But we also solicit questions in advance for both the forecast and the parent chats. And if you're not coming in June for an orientation, but you're going to be swinging through Northern Arizona in July, certainly reach out as well. You can schedule a campus tour and kind of get the feel of campus as well. Freshmen, typically, it's really a family decision on choosing to bring a car. Freshmen really don't need cars on campus. We're super accessible. We have bikes that students can check out for free. A lot of students bring bikes or get them once they get here. We have our campus bus line that takes students and faculty and staff and parents. If you're here too, want to jump on a bus, feel free. And then we also have our Flagstaff mountain line that goes through campus and takes students all over the town of Flagstaff. So And then, of course, there's Uber options. Target and major grocery stores and Walmart all within walking distance as well. So certainly a ton of options there.
Yeah, I'm surprised I didn't see the car question come in ahead of time, or parking question. That's usually a common one. So thanks for getting that in at the buzzer here, Laura. Yeah, more of a luxury than a necessity. And it's not like your student's going to drive to class. So it'd be more if they're going off campus to do stuff, driving back to Phoenix. Although there are a couple of private companies that offer shuttle services right from campus to the Phoenix airport, also down to Tucson as well, with those shuttle services. So certainly not a necessity, but your student may choose to have a car. If they do need to purchase a parking permit. NAU.edu/parking is where they would go to purchase that parking permit.
And they can choose a surface lot near their hall or a parking garage. It's kind of choose your own adventure there. And I was asked to repeat that's my phone number. So 928-523-0681. Thank you all for joining us. Chad and I get so excited to have these chats, so we always enjoy interacting with you as well. Again, if you think of questions later, don't hesitate to reach out.
Yep.
And thanks to the admissions team.
Absolutely. I did see the question if you want to watch this again. I don't know why you'd want to watch us on YouTube talk again, but just kidding. It's always hard for me to watch it again, but it is all recorded. So you can, shortly after it'll take a little bit for YouTube to kind of buffer it and all of that, but that exact same link you click to come here and watch it live, you're going to be able to go there and see the recording and watch parts over again if you need to. And same is true of the forecast from Flagstaffs, the parent chats we have later this summer. If you happen to be busy from 5 to 6 p.m. on a Wednesday night and can't attend, which totally understand if that's the case, those are all available after the fact. You can click that same link that you're sent to join live, and you can watch it after the fact, or maybe you want your student to watch a section that we talked about tonight. It's all going to be available and live out there throughout the summer for you to reference back to. So yeah, again, thanks so much for joining. I know that you are joining these because you care so much about your student, and we here at NAU do as well, and are just so excited to have them joining us. And if there's anything we can help to make them feel more comfortable and make you feel more comfortable as a family member with that transition, don't hesitate to reach out. So until next time, take care.
Take care.